Namaskar and welcome to the second live session of Academic Counseling for ODL learners. Thank you all for being super active in the discussion forum. In the first live session, we had discussed about the growth and evolution of ODL and the characteristic of 21st century learners. This session is based on the contents of the second week of the course. The topic of this session is learning skills and self-learning materials. And to discuss this, we have Dr. Nilesh Kumar Modi, Professor and Director, School of Computer Science, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University, Gujarat, India with us. Dr. Modi has been awarded with prestigious Career Award for Young Teachers by the All India Council for Technical Education, New Delhi. He has published and presented more than 75 research papers in international and national journals and conferences. He has acted as resource supervisor for PhD and MPhil scholars and has also reviewed PhD, MPhil, and MTech theses from different universities of India and abroad. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation to deliver this talk. We are all eagerly waiting to listen and interact with you. I am requesting all the participants to share the questions, the doubts, the queries they have in the chat option, whether they have joined us on Zoom or on YouTube. We'll pick those questions and we'll try to answer each and one of them in this session. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anshuman Jaina ji, Dr. Manas Panigri ji, Dr. Abhilash Naik ji, for inviting me for this knowledge sharing session. Friends, today we will be discussing about learning skills and self-learning material. Let me share my presentation now. Okay. So friends, let's start with the title slides. So basically learning skills and self-learning material. So these are the two important pillars of ODL and online learning nowadays. Earlier we were talking about only open and distance learning, but now it is also most important to discuss the things related to online learning as well. So we are discussing related to learning skills. So what exactly learning skill is? Because whenever we are learning into a conventional mode, so we have our teacher, we have some mentors, wherein we can ask for any particular doubts. But whenever it comes to open and distance learning, so any of the learner should have some sort of learning skills. So today we'll be discussing about those learning skills. Then the role of self-learning material into open and distance learning and online learning, because whenever any of the student is enrolling for the open and distance learning mode for any particular program, so the self-learning material plays a vital role in providing teaching and learning to the student, teaching and learning to the learners. So today we will be discussing about both these points. So what exactly we think is never stop learning, because it is a motto of open and distance learning. Now, let's start with the one of the important quote that has been given by Peter Drucker. The only skill that will be important in the 21st century is the skill of learning new skills. Everything else will become obsolete over the time, because whenever new and innovative thing, whether it is ICT based or whether it is non-ICT based, learning skills or any particular skills, if we are focusing on, if we are upgrading ourselves, so we'll definitely be in the market, will be definitely be in the world. Otherwise our knowledge and our skill will be obsolete. This topic and this session has been divided into two parts. One is learning skill and the another one is self-learning material. So, in the learning skills part, we'll be discussing about introduction, what is learning, what are the skills, the importance of learning skills, and key learning skills related to 4 C's. So let's start with the learning skills. So what exactly learning skills? So learners of 21st century need to own their skills to adapt to the technological advancement around them. So friends, as we have seen that pre-COVID and post-COVID scenario, so earlier, it was not necessary that we should have some sort of technological knowledge and all, but within a fraction of second, or I can say, even after pandemic or during the pandemic, all these things, all the learning, all the teaching has been continued just because of technological advancement. And those who have adopted the technology and those who have cope up with the technological advancement and ICT-based innovations, so they have smoothly adopted various teaching and learning pedagogy and various teaching and learning mechanism. So that is one of the most important thing. So they require specific skill sets to assist themselves in new learning environment. So there are many skill sets today, and one must possess a specific skill set to be learned in a better way. So it is not necessary that we should focus on all the skill sets. So whatever we are into, or whatever we have some sort of expertise, or whatever we are comfortable into a specific skill set, so we can focus on those particular skill set and we can go further. So the word learning skill consists of two important terms, learning and the skills, and we'll be looking on both these point and both these definition in detail. So what exactly learning is? So learning can be defined as a complex and long-term psychological process that consists of individual acquisition or modification of information, knowledge, understanding, attitude, skills, values, competencies, or behavior through practices, experience, study, or instruction. So that we have taken from UIS 2012. So it is all about how exactly we are grabbing or we are grasping the information. We are understanding the thing. We are inferencing the thing. How exactly our attitude is about learning a new and innovative skills, values, competencies, or behavioral through practice. So how exactly we are practicing into it? We are getting some sort of experience and we are getting some sort of study or instructions. So this is all about learning. The definition of learning depends on the philosophical and psychological approach adopted for the defining. Now, what exactly the skills means? So skills can basically be defined as ability to perform tasks and solve problems that one comes across in every life. It is one's ability that detects or proficiency to carry out tasks and comes from education, training, and experience. So it is all about whenever we are getting some sort of skills, whenever we are getting some sort of education. So it is totally based on that. It helps one to practically apply the theoretical knowledge to specific situation. So based on various things or based on various practical approach, uh, how exactly we are getting specific skills and how exactly we are implementing those skills into our day-to-day life. That is one of the most important thing. So in broader terms, skills would also include behavior, attitude, or personal characteristics that can make an individual more efficient in contexts such as education, training, social engagements, and employment. So skills are totally based on the training and employment. So why exactly we are getting any skills? So that is totally in most important part or in majority of the part, it is totally related to the employment, or sometimes it is related to social engagement or training. Now, importance of learning skills. So, learning skills must be seen as a subset of life skills, and thus it is primarily important to know about life skills. So, what exactly life skills? So, let's discuss one of the definition that has been given by World Health Organization. So, who defines life skills as the ability for adaptive and positive behavior that enable individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. So it is as the term says that it is all about life skills. So how exactly we are approaching or we are means managing our day-to-day activities, and how exactly we are responding to all these day-to-day activities. So that is totally all about life skills. So essentially, there are two kinds of life skills. One is thinking skills, and one is social skills. So whenever we have some sort of situations, or whenever we have some sort of activities, so how exactly we are responding to that particular activity or situation, so that we can call it as a thinking skill. And there are plenty of other scenarios, there are plenty of other situations wherein in a society we need to provide some sort of response to the activities or to the situation. Okay, and based on our mental stability, we are responding to that particular thing. So there are two important part. One is thinking skill and our mental stability. Okay, so whatever we are thinking, if we are thinking it into positive manner, so we'll be responding in a positive manner. If we have something in our mind and we are having some sort of multitasking kind of situation in our mind, and there are some sort of negative thoughts, so we'll be responding some sort of in a mixed mode or in a negative mode. So that we can say it's a means our response to the society will be in a negative mode. So key life skills comprises of interpersonal skills, psychological competencies that help individuals to solve the problems, make important decisions, think critically and creatively. So communicate effectively, and emphasis on others, cope up with the demand, and being able to manage their life in the productive and healthy manner. So this is one of the most important point, that so whenever we have some sort of interpersonal and psychological competencies, so that help in providing various solving various problems in a day-to-day life. We can, based on that, we can take some sort of important decisions. We can think critically and creatively as well. So we can have some sort of communication effectively and emphasis on other, and we can cope up on various demands and being able to manage their life in a productive and healthy manner. So life skills are important in education as well, and they provide students with strategies to organize their life and make wise decisions. So this is one of the most important thing, because whenever students are doing some in an open and distance learning mode, some of the students are working, some of the students are supporting their family. Okay, and along with that they are learning. So life skill is one of the most important part of individual learner in an open and distance learning mode, because they have to balance their life, they have to balance their social life, their family life, as well as their learning and teaching and learning. So these are some of the most important points. So life skills promote the mental well-being and competencies of young people. So just because of life skills, so how to live a life and how to behave or how to respond to the individual activity and individual situation, we can have some sort of decision, and based on that we are responding to the situation or activities. So, key learning skills and the four C's. So, what exactly four C's are? So, it is critical thinking, it is communication, it is collaboration, and it is creativity. So, what exactly the critical thinking is? So, critical thinking is all about how exactly we are thinking on a variety of situation critically. Okay, most positively and in a social manner as well. So one cannot learn well without being able to think critically and clearly. So the habits of mind such as understanding, analyzing, reasoning, problem solving, etc. are the important content of the knowledge. So whenever we are getting some sort of knowledge, so at any particular point of time, whenever we are studying any particular topic or any particular course, so at that particular time we have to think in a different manner. So at some point of time we are understanding the thing, we are understanding the concept. At some point of time we need to analyze, okay, how exactly this particular information has been derived, okay, and which are the data, how exactly they are associated with each other. So we have to analyze something. At some point of time we have to find out some sort of reasoning. We should be some sort of problem solving mechanism. Okay, and it's all about content and knowledge. Whenever we are getting some sort of things out of those things, then encouraging students to think critical is vital, definitely. So there are various varieties of situation wherein we need to encourage our students, we need to encourage our learners in a critical manner. It is not always necessary that all the things are readily available in a straight manner. We have to fetch out some of the information based on variety of thinking and reasoning manner. So learning to think critically helps in development of other skills such as deeper concentration. So at some point of time, we need to focus deeply on a specific situation or on a specific activity. So we need to concentrate more on that particular situation, on that particular topic. Higher analytical abilities. At some point of time, we need to analyze the thing, we need to fetch out the things, and based on that, we need to improve our thoughts for processing. And it is important for learners for the present day to think critically, to evaluate the competent claims and make sensible decisions. Now let's discuss about the communication. The communication is most important. Communication plays a most important role in learning skills. So whatever we have something in our mind, we need to communicate it to the proper person and it with the proper situation. So learners should be able to analyze and effectively use the increasingly large amount of communication in their daily life. So it is important to identify the right resource, because whenever we have to discuss our problem with the person, okay, so we need to find out the right resource, analyze their accuracy, and leverage to the reuse or restructure them. So the influence of communication technologies in all aspects of daily life makes it important to teach communication skills to the modern society. And that is the only reason why people are now focusing on the communication skills. So it is not necessary that communication skill is speaking is something like speaking in English only. It is something like whatever language you have or whatever language you know, you should communicate properly, so that whatever problem you have, that should be communicated properly to the respondent. So, although education stresses on fluent speech, clear writing, and correct reading. So, whenever it comes to communication skills, so people are thinking about only English language. No, it is not so. It is all about whatever you communicate, whatever language you communicate, it should be in a fluent speech. Your concern should be communicated properly to the listeners. Clear writing. So whatever you write, your message should go in your writing, and whatever you read. So there are plenty of people, those who are just going through the information, but they are not reading properly. So whatever we are reading, we need to read properly so that it should be the information can be grasped properly and it can be inferenced properly in our mind. So keeping in mind global teams, nowadays in a global scenario, if you can think about whenever we are working in a different team, okay, so it talks about global teams. So that works together in today's world, which include people from different culture and linguistic background. Let's say here I am from Gujarat, so the people are from Odisha, as well as some of the people are working in Delhi, and we are from the different background. So we have different culture and we have different linguistic background. So if we are not able to communicate with each other in a proper understandable manner, so our objective of this workshop will not work. Okay, so communication plays a vital role while communicating amongst the global team. So there are plenty of people in this particular workshop. They are from different location, so it forms a global team. And our purpose is that we need to provide proper understanding about the MOOC in ODL. Okay, so this is the main objective of our workshop, and it should be communicated properly amongst the learners or amongst the stakeholders of this particular workshop. So one must understand the importance of possessing good communication skill in order to work in a collaboration. So that is one of the most important part of collaboration. Now let's talk about collaboration. So collaborative website and groups around the world are proof of growing digital collaborative structure around the world. It is not necessary that all the people they are working together, they are from the same background, or they are from the same location, or they are from the same geographical location. No, it is a world of global team, wherein people are working from different location, but they are working for a common objective, and that form a collaboration. So the final product are the results of contributions from millions of users worldwide, and emphasizes the benefit of collaborative efforts. So learning skill under which collaboration also plays a vital role. So the collaborative culture help in producing extremely inclusive and valuable resources. Collaborative efforts create space of multiple ideas and concepts from more than one individual to be used for a single project, thus making it better. So in collaboration, individual person or thought from an individual person is important, because any particular innovative concept that comes from a specific individual, or any particular individual, and that makes an entrepreneurship. Okay, so there are plenty of other things that are related with individuals thought. And in collaboration, one, all the persons are important. It is not necessarily always a leader plays a vital role. No, it is always an individual, whosoever is having some sort of thought, and if that particular thought floats in a proper manner, then it can achieve a very good result. So with many individuals, the cultural diversity expands, that brings a lot of new ideas and perspective into group. A collaborative effort produces a better holistic result, but also becomes a process of knowledge sharing amongst a bigger pool of people. Now, the last thing is creativity. So, whenever we are working on a specific project, creativity is one of the most important thing. It is not always an operational activity. So if we are focusing on day-to-day life in an operational manner, in a mechanical manner, so it will not populate any particular innovative result. So whenever we are talking about some sort of innovative result and even innovative thing, so we should also focus on creativity. So the future always demands creativity and innovation, and today is the world of innovation. So creators and innovators are the ones who shape and influence the world. The modern learners need to go beyond conventional thoughts to be able to create new meaning and patterns in their areas. So, to cultivate a creative mind, education needs to feature exploration, challenging the situations, and tolerance to the productive mistakes. Okay, so this is one of the most important thing. It is not always necessary that each and every person can have some sort of creative mind. They should be explored properly based on various features, based on challenging situations. So how exactly an individual is dealing with the various challenging situations. So it is totally different that one person will respond to that particular challenging situation in a X manner, while other person will respond to that particular same situation in another manner. So that is one of the most important thing. And the final one is tolerance to the productive mistake. So there are plenty of mistakes in any particular project, but whatever mistake that we are doing in a day-to-day life, if it is productive, then it is a good thing. So it is something like dag achhe hai. Okay, so if it is relevant to providing the better solution to the society, so creative activities should be made part of learning. It must include different fields and aspects such as language, communication, problem solving abilities, and etc. So the education system should have a provision to identify, encourage, and harness the creative ability of the learners. So this is one of the most important thing in an ODL, because in earlier days it was said that only the students, those who are working in a conventional mode, they are only productive, or they are only creative, or they are having some sort of innovations. No, but it is not like that. Nowadays, whosoever is having some sort of creative mind, some sort of proper communication, and those who can make some sort of innovation, they can win the world. Okay, so in an education system, in an ODL system, we should provide this proper opportunity amongst the learners to identify We need to identify some sort of learners. We need to encourage them to do some sort of innovative task. We need to harness them and to have some sort of creative abilities. If they are having some creative abilities, okay, so we need to snatch it, and we need to provide them a platform so that they can work in a better manner. uh, Now let's talk about self-learning material. How exactly self-learning material plays a vital role in an open distance learning? Because whenever it comes to conventional mode of teaching and learning, so each and every student, they are regularly attending the class, they are regularly interacting with the faculty members, and whatever problem they are having, they are discussing it with their faculty members. But in an open distance learning mode, self-learning material plays a vital role, or something like we can say, self-learning material replaces the faculty members. So, how exactly one should design the self-learning material, or how exactly various important aspects plays a vital role in designing the self-learning material so that learners can learn uh, that particular concept in a productive manner, and they can achieve it with the core objective of that particular self-learning material or that particular course or program. So, in this particular session, we'll be discussing introduction, we'll be discussing characteristics of self-learning material, self-activeness, access devices, designing and developing self-learning materials, and writing a self-learning unit. So, self-learning material or a printed material are the foundation of self sound distance learning system. Uh, Unlike the textbook of conventional or face-to-face education system, they have teacher inbuilt in them and guide and support the learners at each and every step. So that we have already discussed. Though self-learning material performs the function of an effective classroom teacher by providing learning experience similar to the classroom-based teaching and learning process. The quality of self-learning material determines the access and success of the distance learners. So this is one of the most important thing. If the self-learning material follows some sort of characteristics of the real research-based outcome, okay, so at that particular time, self-learning material will play a vital role in making the students or learners' career in an ODL. Self-learning material plays a significant role in helping the learners grow as self-reliant, an independent learner with minimal or no support from external sources. So this is one of the most important thing. So if an individual learner, if he gets the thing, whatever objective we have defined for that particular course through the self-learning material, and if he or she becomes self-reliant and independent, then the main core objective or the thrust objective is can be achieved. So distant teachers and learners in open and distance education system should have a thorough understanding of features and characteristics of self-learning material. So let's discuss some of the definition of self-learning material. So self-learning material are basically learner-centered material. Open and distance and flexible learner usually depends a lot on self-learning material because they have to learn on their own at a time, pace, and place of their own choice. So this is one of the most important thing. It is not something like textbook. It is something like how exactly particular faculty members or particular tutor or particular teacher are teaching to the students. So that thought, that idea, that communication should come out from the self-learning material. So it should be more interactive and other things. So these characteristics and features will be discussing in the next slides. So SLMs are different from other learning materials because they can make a learner think, write, and do. So that self-learning material should be think provoking. Then they allow us to write something, and they allow us to do something related to that particular content. So there are various forms of self-learning materials. It can be book, it can be workbook, it can be worksheet, it can be audio tabs, video tabs. computer-based packages, web-based packages, or something in a CD-ROM. So these are some of the medium, but the main objective is to communicate the knowledge among the learners. So there are some special features of self-learning material. So that we have received, that we have compiled from Derek Robin or Rontry. So it should be clear stated objective. It should have clear stated objectives. It should have advice about how to study the material. It should be user friendly. You to study the material. Shortest manageable chunks of learning. Fewer words than usual per page or screen. Plenty of helpful examples, a reference to the learner's experience, illustrations used where they are better than words, headings to help learners find their way around, links to other media where appropriate, obvious awareness of different learners to use the material, space for learners to write down their own ideas, feedback to help learners check their own progress, suggestions about getting help from other people, summary and glossary at the end of every unit. So these are some of the important features that can be added or that must be added into self-learning material while we are designing the self-learning material. Now, let's discuss about the characteristics of self-learning material. So what are the important characteristics of self-learning material? So in a classroom-based teaching, the teacher occupies a central place, but wherein in an open distance learning material, it is totally different. So he or she does not only teaches the prescribed text, but also supplements his teaching with other resources such as textbooks or audiovisual aids and provide other technology enabled academic support. In open and distance learning system, there is no teacher in real sense of the term. The tutor and the self-learning material together replace the teacher. So as tutors are not available to the learners in their immediate environment at the time, self-learning material play a significant role in combining all the roles of teacher in stimulating and motivating the learners during their stay in an open and distance education. So this is one of the most important thing. So your self-learning material and the tutor plays a vital role while providing the learning to the students. So these materials are complemented by visual, auditory, audiovisual, and multimedia content. So the other characteristics are self-learning materials are basically learner-centered material. Open and distance, open distance and flexible learners usually depend on a lot on SLM because they have to learn on their own at a time, pace and place of their own choice. So this is one of the most important thing. So we need to design a self-learning material in a prescribed manner so that learner can learn whatever subject or whatever course they have opted in a proper manner. So in an open and distance learning system, program means curriculum or combination of courses in a particular field of study. So course describes the teaching material and other component of the study. So let's say I can give you an example. Let's say Bachelor of Computer Application, that can be considered as a program. And there are plenty of other courses related to it. Let's say logic development, or let's say there are some courses related to database. There are some courses related to programming languages. Uh, I'm requesting the participant, please don't annotate. Please don't annotate. Okay. So here, let's talk about the another point, that is for the convenience of the learners, a course is divided into blocks in the form of booklet or around 60 to 80 page, and generally each block presents one unified theme. Then division of the course into blocks help the learner in two ways. They don't have to carry voluminous books. They may feel a greater sense of achievement and each time they complete a block, and each block can have 3 to 4 units around 50 to 20 pages each. So each of these unit deals with one theme or topic and has sections and subsections for the clarity of presentation of concepts, information, illustrations, etc. So all the units of block are logically and also thematically linked with each other. So each of these section is followed by a self-check exercise or self-assessment test, which provides feedback to the learners on their performance. So these are something like arrangement of individual self-learning material for a specific course. So any particular program uh, that is being divided into number of courses. Now self-learning material for individual course is being divided into blocks so that it cannot be a bulky content. Okay, so each block may consist of somewhere around 60 to 80 pages. Now the blocks are further divided into units, so that each particular unit they can each in each block there are 3 to 4 units, okay, of somewhere around 15 to 20 pages. So this is how chronologically the SLM is being divided so that proper content should reach to the learners. Okay, so now let's start discussing about the features of self-learning material. So there are some of the important features related to self-learning material. So how exactly our self-learning material should be? So the first point is self-motivating. So like a resourceful live teacher, self-learning material arouse curiosity, raise issues in minds of the learners and motivate them to relate theoretical knowledge to real life situations. So there is an reinforcement at every stage of learning so that learner grow into autonomous learners. So it is not something like whenever we are reading some sort of textbooks or some sort of reference books, the learners are feeling some sort of that they are not something like motivating. So they are feeling something boring. So self-learning material or any particular SLM should be written in a language that every learner get motivated about reading that particular book. So that is one of the most important thing. Then self-learning. So self-learning material besides the information provide study guide, directions, hints, references, etc. to facilitate autonomous learning or self-learning with little or no support from external sources. So any particular person can learn the content uh, by their own. So it should really provide self learning to the learners. Then self explanatory. So we are not communicating with the teacher or we are not communicating with the means counselors on a day to day life. So our self learning material should be self explanatory. So a learner is able to understand the self learning material without much external support. So the content is self explanatory and conceptually clear. Self contained, whatever information is available into self-learning material, it should be self-contained. So self-learning material are self-sufficient or self-contained so that learners who have no access to the additional resources are not disadvantaged. Okay, so all this information, whatever is supposed to be communicated amongst the learners, it should be contained in that particular self-learning material in a proper manner. Okay, self-directed. So again, self-learning material should be directed properly. So any particular self-learning material provide guidance to the learners at every stage by providing necessary guidance, hints and suggestions. So the self-directed materials are presented in the form of easy explanations, sequential development, illustrations, learning activities, etc. So Like a live teacher, such materials guide, instruct, moderate, and regulate the learning process during the interaction of the learners with the text. Then, self evaluating. So, self evaluating something like so self-learning material provide adequate scope to the learners to check their progress from time to time. So whatever content is supposed to be communicated, so at every particular point of time some sort of evaluating mechanism or evaluation mechanism should be provided into self-learning material. So this is done through in a text questions, self check exercises, or some sort of activities that is supposed to be provided into self-learning material. So wherever possible, model answers to the self-check exercise are provided at the end of the units to give them feedback about their progress and reinforce learning. Uh, then self activeness of the self learning material. So how exactly the self learning material can be a self active. So as we discussed earlier, it should be thinking, it should be writing, and it should be doing. So self-assessment questions in a self-learning material include multiple types of questions and other questions demanding the applications of higher order thinking skills. Okay, so whatever information is available, it should be thought-provoking. So these questions motivate them to think from different perspective and choose the right response. Writing. The activities inside the self-learning material involve some writing activities which may include using information already learnt, writing from memory, and explaining topics or concepts in their own words. So rephrasing the given text or summing up the points. So that is one of the most important points. Then doing. So when we aim at developing skills among the learners, we include some practical exercises or activities like reading of maps, going on study tours, field visits to collect the information, and data and relevant activities to make practical applications of the theory learned during the study. So this is what exactly there are plenty of activities. So the learner can perform any of these activities for their better understanding. Now let's talk about the difference between textbook and self-learning material. So what exactly the self-learning material is? So on the left-hand side, we have conventional some of the important points related to conventional textbooks, and on the right-hand side, we have self-learning materials, important points related to self-learning material. So assume that so in the conventional textbook, it assumes that learners have interest in the studies, whereas uh, here we need to arouse interest in the learners and motivates them to study the text. Here it is teacher centric as they are mainly written for the teacher who follows it religiously to complete the syllabus. Whereas here it is created, it is developed for in by keeping the learners in mind. So learner centric as they are uh, written especially for the learners, taking the needs of the learners into account. It is little or no scope for the self assessment, and it is focused on self assessment. It hardly contains aims and objectives. Here mostly it contains aims and objectives. So these textbooks are divided into chapters based on the topics. Here SLMs are divided into study units, sections, subsections, clearly indicating the study time required for completing the unit. Textbooks do not provide any study guidance to the learners. Here, SLM provide guidance to the learners on how to study. Textbooks, they have limited or no activities. Self-active, so these SLMs are self-active as they include numerous activities. These textbooks, they have no scope for learners to get feedback. Here, SLMs have provide feedback to the learner or on answers. So these are some of the important differentiations so that we need to study while differentiating between textbooks and SLMs. Now, access device. So what are the access devices related to self-learning materials? So let's discuss about it. So the methods or devices that help learner find their way around a piece of learning or a learning material are called access devices. So they make the structure of material clear to learners and help them make appropriate use of the learning materials. So what are the key important key points into access device, so that we are going to discuss. So in the other words, they make the material accessible, comprehensible, and useful to the learners. So what exactly we can put into access devices? So what exactly we need to before we start the unit, during the study of the unit, and after completion of the unit. So access device used before presentation of the content of the unit. Okay, so what should be there before the content? So we should have proper well designed cover page, and it should be suitable and attractive. An attractive cover motivates the learner to see what is inside there in the book. uh, the access device or the SLM should have proper title, and it should be clear and meaningful. The structure of the unit. So the well-defined, well-structured unit or well-structured content that always motivate the learners to learn it into detail. So at the beginning of each unit, structure of the unit in the form of section and subsection should be given, so that the learners are able to know the order in which the content are to be represented or the content are presented. In the textbooks, only single content table of content is given, but whereas here we have to provide a table of content for the entire SLM, a table of content for the block, table of content for the units, so that we can go through individual topic in a detailed manner. Then concept maps. So what exactly, how exactly the SLM has been designed, and what is the basic concept behind it? So that should be provided properly in a diagrammatic manner. Then the objective. So this is one of the most important point. So whenever we are talking about objectives, so the program objective and the course objective should map with each other, and furthermore the course objective should map with individual block or unit objective. So learning objective tells learner what they can expect to learn after studying the unit, and the objectives are defined clearly in a behavioral manner or behavioral term, and tell the learners what they should be able to do after completing each section of the unit. Okay, so the first point, after the table of content, we are providing what the learner will be able to understand after studying this particular unit. So that is one of the most important things. Then prerequisites and pretest. So at some point of time, whenever we are studying specific course, there should be or there are some sort of prerequisites. Okay, so the learner should have knowledge about some sort of concepts. Okay, so all those concepts and relevant things should be explored or should be defined properly. So that comes under prerequisites and pretest. Then advanced organizers. So advanced organizers help learners link what they already know to what they are about to learn. Okay, so what exactly they have in their mind, or what exactly they have studied in a different course, and now what exactly they are going to study. So it will bridge the gap between what exactly students are learning. Then introduction about a specific topic that describes the unit, is about why it is useful and how it is linked with the previous units. Then headings. In the printed self-learning material, a typical unit has a topic heading, then subheading. So generally the number of headings match the number of learning outcomes. And in the subheading, the main component of the topic are discussed. So headings and subheadings are carefully chosen so that they perform academic functions for which they have been put in a text. So here we can say the structure of the heading has been given. So 1.0 is a topic, 1.1 is a subtopic, 1.2 is again a subtopic, and 1.2.1 it is a subtopic. So a proper heading is can should be given, and proper numbering should be given. Then access device used during the study. So during the study of the use of material, so let's discuss what exactly we should provide. So we should provide verbal signpost. So verbal signposts are mostly used to show the link between section under study with the previous section. So proper signage and proper signpost should be given by providing some sort of icons and all. Then illustrations. The content in self-learning material should be supported with appropriate illustrations, diagrams, charts, graphs, photographs, flowcharts, wherever necessary to enhance their accessibility. Then instructions. So instructions for the task, activities, test should be precise and unambiguous so that the learners are able to do the activities easily. So whatever instructions we want to provide to the learners, it should be in a simple language. So whether it is task or activity or the test, so the learner can easily get into it. Then after a unit, so access device after a unit has been studied. So what exactly once the unit has been completed, so what exactly before study, so at the beginning of the unit, what exactly during the study means during the unit, and what exactly once we have studied the unit, so what should be there in the means concluding part. So concluding in the concluding part, there should be some sort of summaries. So what exactly we studied into that particular section or that particular unit. So it should be provided in a concluding manner. Then glossaries. So glossaries provides a quick way to learners to check words or concepts which are difficult, unfamiliar or unknown. Then model answers to the self-check exercise. Okay, so during the study, if you have provided some sort of self-check exercises, so here relevant answers should be provided so that the learners can evaluate themselves by getting the actual answers. Then suggested reading. At some point of time, learning material may not play all the details or may not provide all the details. So at that particular time, suppose learner wants to study that concept in a more detailed manner. So some sort of suggested reading should be provided. Like it provides a list of books, journals, websites, which help learner to expand their understanding of the topic. Now, uh, how exactly we can design and develop the self-learning material? So let's discuss about the principles of designing self-learning material. So while designing good self-learning material, writers should keep following principles in mind. uh, the first thing is learners should be given ample opportunities to recall their prior knowledge and experiences, reflect on them and compare them with what they are learning. So more number of reference should be given. Like in unit number 1 we studied, in unit number 1 section number this, we studied this particular point. So every time student or learner will get the things, yeah, we have studied this particular point, so there is nothing new in this particular point. Now we have to continue with that particular last point. Okay, so the learner will get some sort of familiarity about the concept. Otherwise each and every time they'll not be able to grasp the earlier point, or they will not be able to recall the earlier point, what exactly they have studied in an earlier unit. So they will consider each and every unit as a new unit. But if we are setting up or mapping some sort of relativity between the earlier unit on the present learning, so they will understand that it is a most easier task. Learners should be given opportunity to make choice out of multiple tasks given and direct their own learning. Then learners should be encouraged to set their own personal goals and check their progress against them. So each and every time we can allow them to set their goal so that they can be motivated and they can check their progress at their own without giving individual exercises each and every time. They can create their own goal and they can answer to that particular goal. Then learners should be given maximum opportunity to put new knowledge and skills into practice. Then material focus on the learner activities rather than exposition and explanation. So it is not something like it is a kind of document that represent the writers or the author's knowledge. No, it is something related to learners understanding. So whatever content is to be provided or whatever content are supposed to be provided, it should be provided in a proper manner so that the learner can get the things in a easily manner. Then learning tasks which are meaningful to the learner should match the assumed prior knowledge of the learners. Then learners should be given regular feedback on their learning. They need to know whether they are on the right track or not. So it is something like in the discussion forum, we are providing some sort of means feedback to the learners. Then important points should be supported by good examples to facilitate the understanding and retention of the content by the learners. Learners should be given tasks which are authentic and are from real world, and it should involve collaborative learning as well. So learners should be given opportunity to learn from observing the others. There should be enough scope for learners for self-evaluation rather than formal assessment. Learning material should be based on learning profile of the learners, and course designers should take into account the literacy level of the learners. So it is not something, as we have discussed, that it is not something that the author should means explore their expertise. No, it is the level of learners and their ICT skills and their prior knowledge of the subject before materials on these subjects are designed and developed. Now, approach is to design the self-learning material. So there are different approaches like tutorial in print. Okay, so it is something like there are plenty of material there. They are provided in a kind of tutorial. So
Uh, Excuse me, Professor Modi.
yes, sir.
It is already 9. We will have to have some question and answer session with the participants.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. So
uh,
I'm concluding,
uh,
sir. In
okay, okay. Please, please. Thank you.
then it should be provided with the reflective action guide. So this is a constructivist approach to material design, and materials prepared on the principles of this approach aim to support learners in learning from their own experience. Then problem based learning, so at some point of time we should provide some sort of problem based learning. So we should discuss some various examples and problems in a more elaborative manner. Now, how exactly the author should write a self-learning unit? So we need to focus on beginning of the unit. We need to focus on main body of the unit and the ending. So there are some important points so that we have earlier discussed, but I'm just going through some of the points. The structure of the unit. The unit of the structure is supposed to be well defined. Then introduction of the unit, we should provide proper introduction. Then components of the introduction should be structural component, thematic component, and guidance component. So what should be there in the introduction, like what exactly we are going to cover in that particular unit, that can be considered as a structural component. Then what are themes and other relevant topics, so that can be considered as a thematic component, and some sort of guidance relevant component should be there. Then defining objective. Each and every unit should have some proper objective, and that should map with the course, and that should map with the program objective. There should be some sort of conditions, behavior, and standard. uh, then we need to provide some sort of terminology in the objectives, like we need to provide some sort of knowledge like define, label, list, measure, name, recall. Then we need to provide some sort of understanding or comprehension, like classify, contrast, explain, formulate. Then we need to provide some sort of applications like essays, choose, compute. So these are some of the important terminology that we need to use in the objectives. Then middle of the unit, we need to provide some small steps. We need to provide proper logical arrangement so that understanding of the content should be there in a proper manner. Then ordering from the context. So we need to provide proper ordering of the content. So from none to unknown, from concrete to abstract, from particular to general, from actual to representative, and from simple to complex. So these are some of the ordering that we need to follow as an author, so that it can be provided proper in a proper manner to the learners. Then middle of the unit, so we should provide some sort of personalized style. so that the learner can get the important thing in a personalized manner. As we discussed earlier, the communication, okay, so the language of the self-learning material should be in appropriate manner, because language plays a vital role in a self-learning material. So it should be clear, direct, simple, and persuasive. So the language used in text should inspire the tempt the learners to use the material, interact with them, think critically, and respond appropriately. So the language of the material should match with the intellectual level of the target group. So these are one of the some of the most important things that is relevant to the communication. Then we need to provide proper personal pronunciation. We need to have some sort of proper humor, so that we can get some personal touch with the learners. Then familiar words in place of less familiar words or unfamiliar words. So we need to provide some sort of simplistic language, so that student can get each and everything in a simplistic manner. So we should avoid using some unfamiliar or less familiar words. Then use of short words in place of long ones. Then use of short sentence in place of long ones, and remove unnecessary words or phrases. So your language should be most appropriate and most simple, so that learners can get the things easily. Then we need to provide prefer positive to the negative. Okay, then maximize cohesion and use active rather than passive voice. So we need to it should be direct interaction amongst the learners and the author. Then we need to provide proper illustrations. We need to provide proper activities, as we have discussed earlier. Then each and every at the end of the each and every unit, there should be some sort of self questions or self assessment questions. Okay, and their answers should be given at the end of the unit. Now at the end of the unit, as we have discussed earlier, there should be some sort of summary, recapitulation, reinforcement, exercise, glossary, and suggested readings, so that we have already discussed earlier. So this is all about from my side. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Modi, for this wonderful session. It was really a very difficult task for Professor Modi to cover two modules in a single class. It was really a wonderful session, very informative. I am pretty sure all the participants, they enjoyed your session very much. We have a couple of questions that we can take up, Professor Modi. How would you like to go about? Would you like to go for the first module first and then the second module, or we can take the questions in the serial order? They have appeared in the chat box. Either way.
Sir, we can take any question, whatever way you wish.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. So let us do it like this. Let us go by the questions as they appeared in the chat box. The first one is, sir, please explain the difference between creative thinking and critical thinking. This is a question from Mr. Niladri Pradhan.
Yeah. So there are a vast difference between creative thinking and critical thinking. So for each and every activity, so there are two different ways of thinking. One is how we can think about innovative way, how we can provide a solution in an innovative way. So that is something related to creativity, wherein we can provide some sort of relevant example, and that reflects some sort of innovation out of it. And critical thinking is something related to problem solving. So there are number of other activities wherein we need to provide proper solution. Okay, so in that particular scenario, we need to provide proper reasoning, and we need to provide out of the box solutions, so that we can say it's a critical thinking.
Thank you very much. And now there is another question from Professor Kumudini Misra. She has a question like this: among the four C's, which is the most essential for the 21st century learners? Kindly share your views.
Sir, all four C's are most important, because they all fours are involving their own way of learning. and that is so all four C's are most important. We cannot exclude any of the way. So without collaboration we cannot perform any activity. Without proper communication we cannot communicate with each other. So without having critical thinking or without having creativity, so nothing can be done. So all four C's are pillar of the learning skills.
Thank you very much. Uh, they are all interconnected, interdependent, as per my understanding
Yes,
goes.
sir. Yes, sir.
Now there is another question from Mr. Vidyasagar. What is the exact meaning of open materials? Is it 100% free of cost or equity based? I mean to say, who has not been able to access all types of online materials, then bus.
See, in that particular scenario, SEMCA is doing very good activities like open educational resources under the roof of Commonwealth of Learning. So, in fact, open this Odisha State Open University, then Uttarakhand Open University, Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar Open University. We are working very hard under the leadership of SEMCA for providing and for preparing. Self-learning material, and that should be distributed amongst the learners in a free of cost, without having any cost of it. Okay, and that is the main objective of open educational resources. So now many of the international content are available under the roof of open educational resources. Even the self-learning material of all the course content of Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar Open University is also available under OER. So many of the universities, they have opened their material for self-assessment or self learning. It will be a new era of sharing the material free of cost. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I think many of you know this that IGNOU under its eGyan course, it has put
Yeah.
all the materials of IGNOU free of cost for all the learners across the world. People wherever they are, they can access the materials of IGNOU under eGyan course. This is
Yes.
for particularly for people who are from the foreign countries.
Yes, sir.
There is another very interesting question from Dr. Swarnamayi Purohit. How can the innovative minds be explored in ODL system as you have less scope to interact with each learner?
Sir, we started one activity, that is Student Open Innovation Challenge at Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar Open University. So just like any other competition, we have created a competition like Student Open Innovation Challenge, wherein the students of Open University, they can put their project or they can put some of their innovative activities. So we are involving the students, and we are inviting some sort of innovative experts. Okay, they are evaluating all these activities, and we are awarding our student for their innovation amongst various field. Okay, so this way we are promoting student startup and innovation for the entrepreneurship. So these are there are plenty of other ways that individual universities, they are having their best practices at their universities. Okay, so there are plenty of other ways we can involve our learners to provide their innovation, and we can motivate them by awarding a certificate or some sort of award money.
Thank you. I think many of you know this, that Minister of HRD under its MHIC, Minister of HRD's Innovation Council, it encourages the universities to have their own innovation councils, as IGNOU has its own institutions innovation council. And I have a pleasure to inform you that I am a member of this esteemed innovation council of my university, and we are doing a lot of giving a lot of encouragement to our learners. So this is very much possible. But as Dr. Purohit has pointed out, there is no physical touch, physical connection, yeah, face-to-face relationship between the teacher and the taught. But as Professor Modi rightly said, it is very much possible. Now there is the second question that is by Dabasis Mahapatra. What are the thrust areas in life learning skills in education?
Sir, there are plenty of ways about thinking the life learning skills. Okay, it totally depends on individual to individual. Suppose I am from ICT background. Okay, so whatever ICT based innovations and whatever ICT based critical thinking or life skills relevant to it that are associated with it. Okay, let's say ki, suppose I am creating some sort of angel funding for some of my students. Suppose I'm creating some sort of fundraising through social media. Okay, so that is my trust area, and that is my life skill. Okay, and that I'm using for my those who are near and dear to me. Okay, so same way life skill is totally different for individual to individual and their trust area. So here I cannot say that this is the best and most important way to help other. So there are plenty of other ways by which people can help others and people can get something out of it. It is all about how exactly we are living the life and what sort of skills we have that we are utilizing for the society.
Thank you. Now we have a question from Ajay Sahu. What is self-motivation, self-learning? It's a very simple question. Uh, do you need the explanation for this, Professor Sahu? Self-motivation. You can reply, Professor Modi, in one line, please.
Yes, sir. So, sir, self motivation means whenever, suppose we are getting some sort of motivation while we are learning. Suppose I'm passionate about reading some sort of religious content and political content. Okay, so it is always motivating me to learn something new from it. Okay, so it is individual interest that motivate himself, and if proper content is available, so we can read it thoroughly, otherwise we are skipping it.
Right, right. Thank you. And now there is a question from Shreyasi Paltasi. In conventional education system, how can creativity of the young learners be emphasized where there is so much vast syllabus to be covered within the stipulated time followed by exams from time to time?
Sir, basically, I worked with conventional university for 15 years. So there we are interacting with the students in a day-to-day life. So students are regularly coming to the colleges or to the universities. They are attending the class. Okay, so we have plenty of opportunity to communicate with the students. Okay, so the syllabus completion of syllabus and other day-to-day activities, quizzes, then assignments and all the other things are part and parcel of the syllabus, but we have very good interaction with the students, so we can get some sort of knowledge or understanding of the student in a specific area. So we can get innovative thing and we can fetch out some of the thrust area of interest from that particular student. So compared to ODL, in a conventional mode it is more easy to get innovative things from the student's mind.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we have a question from Dr. Saurabh. What is the appropriate age to inculcate these skills? I mean to say, I think he is talking about learning skills. Are these skills content and content specific?
So whether he has asked about age,
Right. Age. Appropriate age to inculcate these skills.
so there is no age about learning any of the thing. I can give one quick example. I have a daughter. She is only 6 year old, and she is operating all the gadgets. Okay, and even nowadays people are getting interacting with the other people, they are attending the class. Okay, so there is no such age about getting any of the skill. Even the person who is at the age of 95 or 97, they are operating very good devices. So earlier people were thinking that we cannot operate mobile and we cannot operate gadgets. So now people are operating all the gadgets, they are getting new things, they are surfing the Google and all, and they are getting something new and innovative things. So there is no such age about getting the any of the skill. That my personal experience.
Thank you. Thank you. There is a question from Jack. Would I be right to assume that Google has in some way influenced critical thinking and communication to most learners?
Yes. Sir, basically it is all about the algorithms and all about the content available on various repositories. Okay. So the best possible algorithm that Google is using, there are plenty of other search engines like Yahoo and other, uh, but they are not providing proper content and thought provoking information. Whereas Google provide very good information, so they have very good repository and they have very good crawling and other facilities. Okay, so it is not about Google, it is all about the researcher and the algorithm that has been designed and developed by the team of Google, and they are fetching very good information from different repositories. Okay, so that has motivated us to have very good reading, and based on that we are getting innovative way of critical thinking.
Thank you, Professor Modi. Since it is already 9:15, many of our participants would be busy for other activities. They would be must be having other schedules. So we are not able to take up the rest of the questions now. However, we'll be putting the total presentation and the PPT on our MOOC portal. So you can put your questions there, and all the mentors and teachers, even Professor Modi, they would love to answer your questions over there. So now over to Dr. Manas Panigrahi, Senior Program Officer SEMCA, to conclude the session. Professor Manas Panigrahi, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Avilas and my friend, Professor Nilesh Modi. I am really happy that in one call, he agreed with us to very short notice to deliver this session. And I am completely agree with Dr. Avilas Naik. The two modules cover in an hour, and it's a nicely presentation, and I have seen all the chat box and as well as YouTube comment box. All of our participants, they are very much happy and they are learning a lot of things. However, many questions and queries in it, absolutely that these queries and questions will take up by our team in the portal. I request all the participants be on the portal so that we can have very good and nice discussion time to time. And with these words, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to Professor Nilesh Modi for joining hands with this initiative and helping our all learned participants and in learning on this two important topic in this MOOC. So thank you very much, Professor Nilesh Modi, and thanks Avilas Naik for moderating this session. And thank you very much to my colleague, Dr. Anshuman Jena and Asim Patel, though both who are uh, behind the screen and on the screen, always helping and mentoring to all participants. Thank you very much on behalf of SEMCA and OSOU to all our learners and participants. Thanks a lot, and thanks to my director SEMCA as Professor Madhuparar and Honorable Vice Chancellor OSOU Professor Shrikant Mahapatra giving this opportunity to run this course. Thanks a lot, and I wish we will be in the portal and discuss more and more things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Namaskar.